Okay, I think I'm live. The phone says I'm live. Hello. We'll see. We will see. Ah. Oh, wow. Okay, here I am. Let's see. Is there audio? Is there video? Yes, there is. It's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Saneezer is here, got here just in time. Very good. Good to see you. I hope your Monday is going well. He says, my bathroom ceiling finally collapsed. The landlord is suddenly doing the repairs he's missed for a decade. 2026 is becoming a great year. Shalom, Lord Zenu85. So I will be giving shout outs to the super chat and super sticker community from the last live stream. So it was Binary Ghosts, RDR2, 5812 Ayush Govil, Yitzi Tuvel, my man Yitz, Michal Arnon, Matthew, Else B80. Oh, wait, was that it? No, I was going the other way. Binary Ghosts, Kitty Ann, SB, Abir Essa, Euler, Johnny, Silly Sinner, Jeff, Fat M, Marvin Gibbs, and yesterday, Matty Ice. All right. Thank you all for your charitable donations. And now we passed the 1,000 shekel mark. It's close to 1,200 at this point. I'm only going to get paid, I think, in another month or a month and a half, but it will happen. We will be giving that money to a charity that we will decide on, the community and I. So if you have a say, or if you'd like to have a say in where the money would go to this first payment, this first month, then by all means send a DM or leave it in the comments or I don't know what, and make your voice heard. So it's Monday. Let's see. Hey, Bethany says it's Bethany. No, it's Bethy. What's up? My game is finally ready for release, said Saneezer. You know, I mean, you sent me the link. I didn't quite get it. It's this. Yes, the fourth temple. You missed the third, he says. Christy Six, I called in today, enjoying my lazy chair. Many blessings to all. Hey, Christy, good to see you here. All right, so a couple of comments, and then we'll just get into it, right? All right. LB8965 asked, so what do you believe happens to people who are not Jewish? To which I answered, Jewish or not, it all depends on the person's actions. Life is what you make of it. And he says, you believe that Judaism is the truth, and only people who are descended from Isaac are Jewish, right? Why would God create non-Jewish people and deprive them of salvation and eternal life? To which I said, well, Jews, it's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's the 12 tribes, because Esau also descended from Isaac, right, from Yitzchak, but he's not Jewish. So it's the 12 tribes, really, not just Yitzchak. And I told him I never, ever said that non-Jewish people are deprived of salvation and eternal life. I believe that we will reach that eternal life together as a unified human race, right, and partake of the fruit of the tree of life. It's code 4. TN Freemason, how you doing? Tennessee, I'm assuming? Tennessee? Code 4. Hi there and hello. Hey, my father is here. Hey, Paul. I am not Jewish. That's okay, TN Freemason. This is an open forum for all. God here, what's up, says Benjamin Netanyahu. Save us if you can hear us. Please save us. Oh man, there's so much going on with Benjamin Netanyahu. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But I think that his time in office has run its course. I'm not here to say if he did good or bad. I'll let history decide that. But oh my God, he's got to go. Raslin says, thankfully the Messiah came to save us all. Ew, look at that. The Messiah came. That's lovely. I take it you're a Christian. You got merch, mugs, t-shirt, and notebook. Oh, so very ordinary says. No, I mean, it's something I might consider, but no. Have you seen the files? No, I have not seen the files, not on Netanyahu or presumably Epstein that you're talking about. Sister says, I am a nun. I pledged 53 years in the Roman Catholic Church. I played in The Conjuring as an extra. Oh, look at that. The Conjuring. Is that a horror movie? Is it a suspense movie? I don't even know. Who would wear that face? No, I'm assuming that he's talking about the tree, right? So my friend Grace, very talented and lovely artist, drew that tree as part of the short film Now I'm Awake. It's one of my favorite short films of hers, and it's a beautiful animation, and I've begged her to find the original animation cells because she drew them by hand, but it's somewhere, she has no idea where it is. You don't want the files are disgusting, says Robert. Hey, Robert. Arpit sings, damn those dreads. It's just hair. It just grows like that. Are you Jew? Yes, I am, Anil. How about you? Are you Jew? I've been looking into the broken Vav. Are you familiar, Christy Seeks? No, I'm not familiar with the broken Vav. What is the broken Vav? Jew, says Fauz. Yes, I am, indeed. And you? Sunita says, yes, I would actually buy a merch. I never do of that tree, or maybe a white hoodie or hat. Yes, I would also love to have something with that tree on it. The closest thing that I have is a mug at work that has the tree of life on it that I drew, right? Ceramics workshop type of thing. But I'll tell you this, I would truly, truly love to have some merch with that tree. And Nama, right, my woman said, why don't you just have her draw another tree, especially if it's something that you want to have and to sell? Because I would give her a cut of whatever revenue the merch makes because it's her tree. Now, she knows I use the tree, and I've thanked her very much for creating the profile picture inadvertently because it's from her short film. And it's on YouTube. I put a link on my in the posts, right, on the channel. There's a link to the movie Now I'm Awake, 26 or 36 seconds. That tree, it's just so beautiful. And I really would love to have it. Polka Dot says, I believe in Yod Hey Vav Hey also. Hasir says, I bet that hair smells so bad. No, it actually is really, really good because I use shampoo and essential oils. I'm Hindu, says Anil. Well, namaste. Gay, says Alamo. Yes, indeed, I am the gayest gay man and full of gaiety. It's true. Take a shower, my friend, says Mindful Memos. I do take showers regularly, but thank you for the concern. Sanizar says, even better if proceeds went to a real artist. Yes, yes, she's a real artist. I mean, she's an artist, and she does art therapy, and she's highly talented. She has the golden fingers, and everything that she touches, she can make something amazing out of it. I've done that once before, bought a $1,000 numbered production from Digital Blasphemy, said Sneezer. Oh, okay, that's cool. So yeah, look, if actually there is ever merch, I would want to use her original drawing, because this one that I have here, it's a photograph or a screenshot of the movie, but I really, really do want to have, I told her this, I want to have the original cell, the original image. She drew like hundreds of them, right, to make this short film. She studied animation, right, and other things, but that's when she did that. And I would really love to frame it, but I don't think she'll ever find it, which is too bad. Hey, Psychonaut for Life says, indoctrinated into the godless cult when they cut your dick at birth. Which cult is this? I'm curious. And to call, if you're talking about the Hebrew faith, to call it godless is, I don't know about that. I don't think it's godless. Of course, many, many people do say that it's the synagogue of Satan. Are you Israeli? Yes, I am, Anil. Yes, I am. Hey, we've got the first super chat from Bio865. Thank you ever so much. All of the proceeds from the super chat, super stickers, what else is there? Super thanks, and the ads go to charity. I have not yet been paid for the first time. I have only been monetized a couple of weeks, but when it comes through, it definitely will be going to charity, and I will be as transparent as I can about it. That's what I keep saying, and it's true. I like turtles, says David B. Hey, I like turtles as well, and tortoises, of course. I don't, definitely. The stream was promised to him 3,000 years ago, says Speed Lemon. Yes, indeed it was. Well, no, more like, billions of years ago. Boom, boom, Tel Aviv. Are you talking about boom, boom like ass? Because definitely, there's a lot of asses in Tel Aviv, I'll tell you. That's true. Do you believe all Gentiles or cattle? No, Robert, I don't believe that people are subhuman. I don't believe that people, human beings like you and I, are cattle. That would be a stupid thing to think as far as I'm concerned, so I don't do it. I wish Jesus would look like this, says Alex. You know what? People say that he did. I have no idea how they know, but... Charity, yeah, right, says Speed Lemon. Tell you what, Speed Lemon, stick around. You'll see that I am a man of my word. But if you don't think that I will do it, by all means keep thinking. It makes zero difference to me. Literally zero. Can you people not see he's Jewish, says Jeff Glory Road? Thanks, Jeff. It's pretty obvious, am I right? Your accent is funny, says CS. Now tell me, what accent is it? What are you actually seeing or hearing, rather, in the accent? Because I've had different people say different things, and I'm curious. So how much money you make on YouTube, says Sufil Said, or Seed. So far, the revenue, I haven't been paid yet, but so far it's been a couple of weeks, and it has been like 1,200 shekel, something like that, so 400, give or take, US dollars. Is your heart pure enough to take psychedelics and leave your body? I have taken psychedelics, Psychonaut. I am a fan. I do it irregularly, only on occasion, more for a ritualistic than recreational activity, but definitely, I have no idea if my heart is pure or not. The only thing I know about me and psychedelics is, first of all, set and setting, use discernment, use caution, respect the substance. Second of all, I've never had a bad trip, because every psychedelic trip that I've ever taken, whether it was MDMA, which I do consider mind expanding, cannabis likewise, LSD or psilocybin, it's always been a wonderful trip because, well, I suppose it was because of the set and setting that I employed, right? So yeah. But I'm very much, I don't know if my heart is pure or not, but definitely I've taken psychedelics. And I've also had a hero dose in Silent Darkness. Eiler! Weirded Beardos unite, indeed. Thanks so much for your charitable donation. If you're Jewish, what stocks are looking good right now, says Kevin. Sorry, man, I'm more of the artsy-fartsy type. I'm less the banker financial advice type. So sorry about that. Can we go over psychedelics in the Bible? Yeah, there are people who do say that psychedelics make an appearance in the Bible. However, they're not mentioned by name, other than perhaps one of the herbs of 11 that were used for the incense in the tabernacle and the temple, called knebosim, cannabis, knebosim. You can see how people would make that, would sort of see the, what's it called? I forget the word right now. So it's 10:42 p.m. If I start to ramble, blah, 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 or forget words, forgive me. It's late, but I did want to make this happen today. So yeah. Mindful Memo says, your oldest scriptures was written 1,500, 2,000 years after Moses. What do you have from Moses, peace be upon him, time? Well, first of all, I don't know what oldest scriptures you're talking about. The Torah has been around since forever. In the physical form, in a scroll, it's been around since the time of Moses. Moses was the lawgiver, traditionally. He's the one who wrote the Torah. Now, people argue over the end whether he wrote himself dying or it was Joshua who wrote in Moses' death. But according to the Hebrew tradition, I'm not saying it's true, I'm saying it's tradition, Moses wrote the Torah, and later on, after the destruction of the Second Temple, or around that time, the sages, right, the people of the Great Assembly, Chazal, the rabbis, as it were, compiled the Hebrew Bible. But the 5 books of Moses are outside of all the Bible in the sense that they take precedence and they have a different divine revelation that is associated with them coming through Moses. Moses is known as the father of prophets, even though he wasn't the first one or the last one. He's definitely known as the father of prophets. So I'm assuming that if you're saying that the oldest scriptures is 2,000 years after Moses, that's kind of not true chronologically, traditionally. But what do you mean by that when you say that? I'm curious. Okay. Epic Baller says, is it true that Jewish people look down on non-believing goys? No, it is not, but obviously you'll find the occasional Jew who's got a supremacy complex or a victim complex, either one will cause him or her to think they are better. Also, while it does say in the Torah that we have a specific mission and a task to accomplish, I don't think that that's unique to the Hebrew people. I think the Hebrew people received a unique mission and a task and job to do, but that all the other nations have their own task and their own job, their own mission to fulfill. So it's not that one is better than the other. I really don't see it that way. What do you have from his time carbon dated? I have no idea if things are carbon dated or not. I think the oldest things that were found, let's say in archaeological findings, were what? 2,500 years ago? Maybe a little more, but not over 3,000 years ago, I think, though I might be wrong because I'm not an archaeologist and I have no idea. Really no idea. Okay. Let's continue. Blah, 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 Sky Daddy was promised to me 300,000 years ago, but my Sky Daddy better than yours, blah, blah. I didn't say anything about a Sky Daddy. I don't think it's better than anyone. See, this is not what goes on here in the chat and the Hebrew faith at large. I'd venture to say, this is not a pissing contest, people. This is not, I can shoot further than you. This is not, my God is bigger than your God, or my Sky Daddy can beat up your Sky Daddy. All of those things are so infantile. They truly are. Which is why when you see Islam, presumably, is supposed to take over the world, and Christianity, presumably, is supposed to take over the world, right? Everybody should bow down to Jesus, everybody should accept Muhammad, but the Jews say, yeah, do whatever the hell you want, just let us be. Pretty much. And so, if you're talking about this Sky Daddy business, that's not here, not for me, not on this channel. Not on this channel, anyway. Definitely not. Better and worse are the dichotomy that keep us distracted. Hey, new dog is here, or new doge. I never know if it's a hard G or a soft G. Maybe you told me. I'm not sure. But yeah, exactly. Better and worse are the dichotomy that keep us distracted. Exactly. You know what? When you close your eyes, you're no longer, right? When we are all blind, then we can finally see. In the sense that, yeah, better and worse, this game of this infantile pissing contest of relativity, this infantile pissing contest of my God can beat up your God, it's so asinine to me. Truly, truly asinine. Now, it could very well be that people take it in a different way and I'm only privy to the horrible parts of it, could be, but I know that I've lived long enough. I've lived long enough to understand that it's a really horrible way to go about life. Really, it's a terrible way to go about life. ChatGPT said Nazarite Jews don't exist anymore. What's going on? It said it required the temple. That is false. Whether it's according, no. Nazarites for a set period of time require a temple. In other words, you are allowed to take it for 30 days onward. If you take it for 30 days, then at the end of the 30th, at the end of your time, you need to bring offerings. But Halacha and all the scholars say that the Nazariteship exists with and without a temple. So first of all, I'm a Samson Nazarite, which is for life. I don't need the temple. Second of all, if you take a Nazarite vow for a set period of time, and your time ends, but there is no temple to bring the offerings, you are still under the Nazarite vows prohibitions, even if you have fulfilled your time, you have not fulfilled the ritual. Which means that until you fulfill the ritual, you are de facto a Nazarite. Even if you now made a vow for 30 days, then you are still a Nazarite for life or until the temple shows up. So ChatGPT is definitely wrong. Trust me. I've met enough Nazarites digitally and personally here in Jerusalem to tell you that the Nazariteship exists, and that the thing is that without a temple, it's from the onset for life. That's the difference. But GPT hallucinates many times, and this is one of those hallucinations. Pazi Gazim says, can you please read us the laws of the book of Talmud? There is no such thing as the laws of the book of Talmud. The Talmud is a book of discussion, debate, lore, fantasy, myth, legend, and different tidbits. But there's no laws in there. There are opinions, there's discussion, there's debate spanning hundreds of years, but there is no such thing as a book of the law of the Talmud. The laws of the Talmud are known as halacha, but not everything that is written in the Talmud, Babylonian or Jerusalem Talmud, actually became rabbinic law or halacha, which means that it's the debate, it's the discussion, and it's all kinds of different tidbits, but the Talmud gets a bad rap because of a lot of controversial things written there. And there are controversial things written there, for sure. But that doesn't mean that they became actual rabbinic law. It means that they were there to either define the parameters of a debate, or it was a really, let's say, radical, controversial sage or rabbi that said some stuff. For instance, the things about the goyim, right, the nations being below the Jews. So what is it you want cleared up? I'm not saying I could do it, but I'm saying if you have a specific scenario, a specific rabbinic law, specific halacha you want to discuss, by all means, let's discuss. Are God and Dios the same? No, yes, both, neither. Well, Dios, isn't Dios just a translation of deity? And God is one of the names of deity, right? Yo, man, you own a shofar, and if you do, how long is it? So I'm vegan, but the shofar, the ram's horn, is the only thing I do regularly that is not vegan. Because I no longer go to synagogue, and because I like blowing the ram's horn on the first of the month, of the Hebrew month, on the new moon, and that's not usually done. What is usually done is that the ram's horn is blown, is sounded on the high holidays, right? That's Rosh Hashanah, the Festival of Trumpets, the New Year, and Yom Kippur, the Holiday of Atonements, and throughout the preceding month of Elul. So I do own a shofar. It is, I have it right here. Hang on a sec. Where is it? Here. So this is the only non-vegan thing that I regularly do. This is the ram's horn. And if the kids weren't asleep, I would blow it right now. But the kids are asleep, so I'm not going to do that. But this is the only thing that I have that I do regularly that is not vegan. So I really love doing it, and it kind of, the thing is this, it's vegan, but it's not vegan. It's not vegan because it's literally an animal product, but it is kind of vegan in the sense that they grow back, right? It's not that it was removed and that's it. The actual antler grows back. So here we go. So yeah, hang on, I'll have a gulp of tea. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam she'akol niyeh bidvaro. So yeah, I love blowing my shofar. And because I love blowing my shofar so much, even though it's not vegan, it's the only thing. Yes, milk does grow back, Sneezer, I agree. The thing is that with factory farming, they keep the cows pregnant and they fill them with bull seed, and it's a horrible, horrible psychological and physical torture that the cows undergo. So, no. You do what to your shofar? I blow my shofar, Jimmy. Why, I blow my shofar well, at least once a month. Maria says, nice to meet you, O God. Our good Lord was a Nazarite, the priestly class of our sun god Yowza. Okay, cool. What do you think about black Jews, says Eric. I'm a fan. I've known several, and I've been friendly with several, and I have literally zero concern about a person's melanin content. It matters, like, it truly makes no difference to me. Every day I'm struggling, says, what's the normative authority you appeal to settle disagreements? What gives one rabbi authority over the other? Well, first, if we're talking about halachic authority, there are rules by which halacha is derived. It's not simply a person had an opinion, let's go with it. First of all, there are certain attributes by which halacha is derived, right? 13 of them traditionally, and there are others. There are rules, right, where a certain sage would automatically, or nearly all the time, automatically outrank, if you will, halachically, the other sages. So it has to do with discerning on a case-by-case basis, right? That's what it has to do with. So if you're talking about right now, which do I appeal to? I haven't had a halachic disagreement because I pick and choose everything. But at the time when I was more stricter with halacha and with rabbinic law, I had my rabbi. So there were no disagreements. If there was something I wasn't sure of, something in halacha I wasn't sure of, or just general life advice, and I went to this person and he knew me and we'd studied together for a few years, and I would, funnily enough, when I came to him in my yeshiva days, right before I joined the army, and I asked him if I should marry my wife at the time or wait, he said, wait, you should wait. But I did not, and I went against what he said. Well, he didn't command me to do it. He gave me advice, and I said, no, I'm going to marry her anyway. Incidentally, not recommended. I wanted to be a married man when I joined the army, and I did, and I was. But oh my God, it almost tore us apart. Not recommended to be apart from your wife during the first year and something of your nuptials, right, of your wedding. So as for what gives one rabbi authority over the other, it has to do with a few things. First, it has to do with the attributes by which halacha is derived. B, it has to do with, are you talking about in the time of the Mishnah, of the Talmud, or now? And if we're talking about halacha for the masses, it has to be something that the masses can actually keep and go with and carry out in the world. Otherwise, it would be annulled. Both their argument appealed to the same source, which caused the disagreement. So I guess you're talking about halacha. So halacha is derived by a specific set of attributes, right? Again, there are 13 of them, but you can do it differently too. All right, let's see. Why do you not believe? More Jesus questions. I'm going to do a lot less Jesus questions tonight. I've had so many Jesus questions the last, couple of weeks. I need to you guys don't need to lay off the Jesus questions, but tonight I'm going to be a lot less Jesus-y. Or rather, I will, answer a lot less or address a lot less Jesus-y. Otaku says, yes, I have been in the reserves. I was discharged 5 years ago. Though if I'm actually really needed, I will go back. At the beginning of this war, I got in touch with my CO, and I said, if you need me, call me, I'm ready to go. But they didn't, so I didn't. Okay, let's continue. Why do you believe... No. Okay, what did you think about the Jew commercial? What Jew commercial? I have no idea what that Jew commercial is. You're assuming that I sit and watch commercials. I do not. So, what Jew commercials? Are you Hebrew roots or Jewish? No, I'm Jewish. I mean, I'm a Hebrew man, but I'm I grew up modern Orthodox Jew in Jerusalem. Yosef Vera Nava. Those are 3 different names. Yosef Vera Nava. Which one are you? Are you all 3? Are you American? I'm American, born abroad. My parents are American, and I have a passport. But I consider myself American sort of mentally, if you will, but I've never voted. I've never lived in the States. I've got a lot of family there, so I'm American on paper. I'm American on paper. Every day I'm struggling, says, my point is, how do you get around the critique of relativism? In the Second Temple, there was divinely appointed priestly class. After the destruction of the Second Temple, you don't. Well, let's put it this way. How do I get around the critique? The idea is that you make for yourself a master, right? You go and you study under a master. You apprentice under a master. Now, at some point, you can decide to go your own way, much like I did. For better or worse, I decided to go my own way. But the critique of relativism is not really there when you say, okay, so here is my rabbi, here is my master, this is my guru. I'm going with what he says, and I'm going to do, right? There's a connection here between master and apprentice, rabbi and pupil, right, if you will. So if you find somebody that speaks to you truly, then you go with him, and then it's not relativity. On the other hand, it's not that everything he says is an absolute, though there are specifically chassids and others who sort of cancel out their own will before their rabbi's will, or before the will of God, channeling right through the master, through the rabbi. But look, after the destruction of the Second Temple, you will no longer have the spirit of prophecy. It was given, they say, to children and fools. The idea is that now that we have not the spirit of prophecy sort of on all flesh, right? We don't have prophets in the very same way that we did before. We do have them differently, but not in the same way we did before. So the divinely appointed priestly class, it says in the Torah that if there comes a time, right, where you don't know what to do, you go to the priests, you go to the Levites, you go to the judges. You go to the judges, and the judges can be from any tribe. So even though the tribe of Levi, you could say, was divinely appointed, as you said, judges and rulers and scholars also do have the authority, because the Torah is not in the heaven. The Torah is down here on earth, right? In its physical form, it's here on earth, given to walking, talking, breathing, living human beings, right? A world of good and evil, a Torah that speaks of good and evil. A duality. So that is why, born in Jerusalem, raised in Jamaica, thanks. Wide-winged objective, cool. So I think that's what you're saying is what you're asking every day is a good question, but I'm saying it's not really critique of relativity. It's if you want to go with someone, you go with someone. You see? I mean, maybe I'm not answering it properly. And if you don't have a specific rabbi, but you do go by a specific ruler or judge or dayan, like a halachic ruler, then go with that. Willard says, why aren't you out protesting ICE? So once again, people are asking me this. There's no ICE here in the States. There's no ICE that's in the States. I'm here in Israel. So yeah, let's continue. M3 says, Jews and Muslims worship the same God as them. It's the Christians who need meds worshipping men. Okay, look, the Jews-Christians debate, I've mentioned it in the past because it has come up so many times with so many Jews, Not many Jews and so many Christians and so many Muslims in the chat. Are you claiming to be Jew, says Zerian. It's not a claim. I was born into the Hebrew faith. That makes me a Hebrew man. So I don't know if I'm making any kind of claim, but yes, I suppose I am making a claim. These psychos shouldn't be allowed to have any power whatsoever in the West, says We're Back. I don't know which psychos you're talking about, but, people do consider Israel an offshoot of the West, even though it's the Middle East. And for all intents and purposes, we are a highly Western country. That's kind of what causes so much of the confusion and the tension here between the old and the new, the East and the West, the religious and the democratic, right? The theocratic and democratic. The state of Israel is sometimes a mess. You are not Hebrew, you're deluded, says Nick Lambo. Really? I've been living all of these years in delusions. Good. Look, I'm definitely deluded about certain things, but being born Jewish and keeping Torah and commandments for so many years, what are you basing that on, Nick? Why am I not a Hebrew? I would love to hear it. Please tell me. Smirk says, do you follow the Torah or Talmud or any other religious literatures? Again, Talmud is not something you follow. Talmud is a place where rabbinic law is derived from, the Mishnah and the Talmud, the oral law. So I follow the written law and I follow the oral law, but I pick and choose everything. I am a picker and chooser. I am a cherry picker. I am a cherry picker extraordinaire. And I do follow other religious literatures within the Hebrew faith. But what do you mean follow? It's like I pick and choose everything. So yeah. I'm sorry. Why? If your mama was a Hebrew, you're a Hebrew, says Little Shane. Thank you. Halachically, I'm a Hebrew because my mother was Jewish. Biblically, I'm Hebrew because my father is Jewish. And I have the tribal affiliation and I have the national affiliation. And I was born in Israel, raised in Jerusalem. How much more of a Heb can you get? I ask you. And plus, the Shnaz. Come on, people. The Shnaz is right there. Right there. Okay. Rasta Jew, says Jay. I know I don't worship Rastafari, but Rastafari, right? Those who worship Rastafari do have a lot to do with the Nazarite vow. They claim to be of the tribe of Judah, and they and they take on the Nazarite vow. You are not Hebrew, says Nick. Once again, you're making a claim. Why don't you actually back it up with some rational argument? I did my part. You do yours. Say, I go blah, blah, blah. You go blee, blee, blee. That's how this works. Oh, and if you tell me that I'm not Hebrew because I'm not black, give me a break. The Messiah has been and gone waiting for the Antichrist, says Salim. Waiting for the Antichrist? Who is waiting for the Antichrist? I'm curious. Every day says, but how do you evaluate the master's authority? How do you know if rabbinism's account is true? Your understanding of the Torah is mediated through the interpretation of rabbis who could be misled. Yes, which is why I said a master, not just somebody who's a rabbi, somebody who is truly your master, somebody who you have a connection with, somebody who you connect with on a personal level, not just somebody where you have an issue, okay, I'll go ask this rabbi or that rabbi. No. If you want to actually have somebody and have a connection with them and have a master, look, obviously if you're just an everyday Orthodox dude and you have a question in halacha, you could ask any rabbi. You could ask the rabbi in your local synagogue. You could ask the rabbi of your neighborhood or your town or your region. You could go up the hierarchy however you want to go. You can ask whatever rabbi. Are they Ashkenaz? Are they Sfard? Are they Yemenite? Are they Moroccan? Do they do this? Do they do that? Do they go by the Rambam? Do they go by the Ramah? Right? What halacha do you follow traditionally according to the house of your father and mother? A rabbi that follows the same halacha, that would be the person you go to. Or again, locally, who do you go to? But if you're talking about somebody who you have a connection with, who digs you, who understands you, who sees into you, so to speak. It's a lot more. It's not just the physical plain law. Is this allowed or is it not? Is it kosher or is it not? Is it clean or is it not clean? Right? A question that has to do with some rabbinic authority that you can really get behind and understand and submit to, that's a different story altogether. Then that's a question of a student finding a master, right? And an apprentice finding the apprenticeship. I have your picking and choosing, says Nick. Okay, do you think that people don't pick and choose? and have a hierarchy of values by which they screen, if you will, the Torah and the commandments, you would be mistaken. We all have things that matter more to us than others. And I saw many things, or not many things, but some fundamental things in the organized Jewish religion here in Israel that caused me to take a step back from strict halacha. But I kept strict rabbinic law for years, and I grew up Orthodox in Jerusalem all my life. So if based on picking and choosing, you're saying I'm not a Hebrew, by all means, let's go with that. I'm not a Hebrew. You're right. I'm wrong. Oy vey, whatever shall I do? What a shanda. So the way you evaluate a master's authority is, do you connect with them? Is there an actual connection? Is there a connection? Take off your hat, show us your horns. Well, I only have one right now, and I did that before, so here, 2 horns. Take a moment to breathe love and give thanks to God. Hello from an American Catholic. You're right, Stickfire85. Let's take a moment, just a quick moment, and give thanks. Open up our hearts, open up our minds to the gratitude attitude and to so many things that we might take for granted in the everyday. I'm sitting here right here in the comfort of my home, 11 p.m., after a good day's work. The kids are asleep. The wife came home, and she's presumably watching something right now. We're going to go to sleep soon. I'm here with a cup of tea. I'm sitting. I'm safe. I'm sound. Many people all over the world, and even right now in this neighborhood, are going through tragedies and woes and suffering. And for some stupid reason, I'm here right now. I'm well. I'm healthy. I'm of relatively sound mind and sound body, and I can do this with you, and it's raw, and it's live, and it's magical. And I deeply appreciate your time and your kind attention, the subs, the likes, the views, the hate, the vitriol, the trolls, the spammers. I dig you all, and I deeply appreciate it. And thank you, Stickfire. The gratitude attitude is something I practice daily, and it's always nice to be prompted to do it in the chat, because it's true. It's true. To take a moment to breathe and love and give thanks to the Most High God. I deeply appreciate that. Well done. What is the difference between Gentile soul and Jewish soul, says Mauro? According to me, there is no difference whatsoever. If you are a human being, you are made in the image of God, and that soul is a soul that exists within the image of God. That's you, human being, Homo sapien. But there are people who say that there's a divine soul, and the nations have what's called an animal soul, and I don't believe that for a second. I know that some Hasidism teaches this, and some rabbis, or I don't know what, teach this. I have not found that to be true. B, I know that it's been also said that it doesn't matter if you're a Jew or a Gentile, if you're free or if you're a slave, if you're a man or if you're a woman, if you're married or single, according to your deeds, the Ruach HaKodesh, the spirit of sacredness or the Holy Spirit, rests upon you. And I'm quoting Eliyahu here. I'm quoting Elijah in the Tana Devei Eliyahu, right? In the lore of the house of Elijah, it says, right, that the heaven and earth are witnesses to this. It all depends on what you do. It all depends on how you behave. What is it that you are eating? How is it that you are speaking? What is it that you are wearing? How is it that you comport yourself in the world? Mind your manners, mind your actions, mind your speech, right? And you will, indeed, the more that you are able to bring and manifest that image of God in which you were uniquely created, the more the Holy Spirit rests upon you, right? This Ruach HaKodesh. And this is not something that's particular to Jews. And so you can say that, people can say that Gentiles are less. People can say that Gentiles have an animal soul. I don't believe that for a split second, not for a second. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I hear some people, JT, they cut off pee-pee to become a Jewish. How could you make more Jewish with no pee-pee? No, they don't cut off the penis. They cut off the foreskin, which is the piece of skin covering the penis, right? It's like a turtleneck, I'm told. Baby says, can you speak on how Judaism has 2 messiahs? So Judaism has a lot more than 2 messiahs, but traditionally the 2 messiahs are Messiah, son of Joseph, and Messiah, son of David. Messiah, son of Joseph, is there to be more of the material and physical supplementing Messiah, meaning the Messiah that will build the physical vessel. The Messiah, son of David, will be the one who will usher in the spiritual element that will be poured into that vessel. right? So what do we have? We have Joseph. Joseph famously ruled in Egypt, right? He was second in command to Pharaoh, and he was the one during the famine who gave food to everyone, right? And he was the famine breaker. And he was the one who gave them their nourishment. He was the one who gave them their strength. He was able to give them their physical nourishment and sustenance by being wise, building up stores of food for the 7 good years. And then everybody came to him when the famine hit Egypt, Canaan, and the surrounding areas, right? So he was able to give them physical sustenance. He represents the material. Son of David, the Messiah of Son of David, represents the spiritual. He represents that spiritual element that is to be poured into the physical vessel built by this Messiah, son of Joseph. But Judaism has a lot more than 2 messiahs, right? Messiahs come and messiahs go. They're just kings. They live and they die like any other king. There is indeed prophecy and tradition of one final Messiah, traditionally from the house of David, who will usher in this great transformation, right, for the whole human race. Maybe first to Israel, maybe all together, it's not known. Nobody knows for sure. But the 2 messiahs you speak of are son of Joseph, material, son of David, spiritual, right? Because the Torah and the Hebrew faith always seek to unite and elevate the masculine and feminine divine presence, the physical and the material, right, and the spiritual. That's how. That's why these 2 messiahs are brought up more than any other messiahs. However, there are other messiahs. And it could very well be that the next king of Israel won't be from the house of Joseph or from the house of Judah, right, David. It will be somebody from some other tribe, and he will receive the crown, and he will receive the king, and he will sit on the throne. And there's nothing wrong with that. Kings come and go, and they live and they die like any other king. Where does the pork taboo come from? Vawik asks. From the book of Leviticus and other places like in Deuteronomy. We have certain signs and attributes that make an animal kosher, right? So when it comes to, let's say, cattle, things like sheep, right? Things like goats, or things like cows, livestock like that, they need to have a split hoof, they need to chew their cud, and they need to have a hoof, a split, and to chew the cud. Those are 3 things. With fish, for instance, there needs to be scales and fins. Those are the kosher symbols of a fish, right? Or if it's a bird, well, no, the birds, we simply don't eat predator birds and other types of birds that are mentioned in the Torah, but the taboo comes from the fact that it's not kosher. Now, why is pig or pork singled out? The reason why pork is singled out, or, pork is part of the pig, the reason why a pig is singled out more than others is because the outside, right, the hoof, there's a hoof, a pig has a hoof, and it's split. So it has 2 out of the 3 elements that would make it a kosher animal. Why is the pig not a kosher animal? Because of what happens inside. The pig does not chew the cud, right? The pig does not regurgitate and then swallow and regurgitate and swallow. Like a cow, for instance, that has several stomachs. The pig is the symbol of hypocrisy, let's say. The pig is the symbol of the non-kosher animal pretending to be kosher. The pig is the symbol of the animal, or the person, for that matter, if we're speaking in metaphor or allegorically, of a person who says, look, I'm kosher, it's all good, look on the outside, look at me. But on the inside, they're not kosher at all. They're missing something inside that makes them not kosher on the inside and the outside. That's why the pig, I think, got such a bad rap. But actually, people say that at some point, the laws of kashrut will be gone and will be made void, and they won't be here anymore. However, we're not quite there yet. Some people say we are. I don't think so. But either way, I'm vegan, so I don't eat pigs anyway, so I don't care. But yes, the pig is the thing that is mostly pointed at, right? Like where did the taboo? You didn't say a bat. You didn't say a worm. Those are taboo as well, not kosher, unclean animals for the Hebrew people. But you said pig, right? Pork. Because the pig is not unique especially, but is mentioned in that context of being kosher on the outside, but not on the inside. So on the outside, it says, look, I'm clean, I'm pure, I'm ritually clean to eat. But on the inside, not happening. So yeah, the pig. Is killing children kosher? Well, not if they're not doing anything, Sipri, but killing children is only kosher well, first of all, I mean, in war things happen and people die. Initially, essentially, killing kids is not kosher. The only time where it's kosher to kill a child, and this has never actually been carried out, there is the law, but it has never been carried out traditionally. It's there to be learned, right? And it's there to be studied, and it's there for you to gain wisdom from and to sort of extrapolate maybe to other things in life. But there is this halacha in the Torah, right, called ben sorer umoreh, the rebellious child. The rebellious child is a child, if you read it in the Torah, is a child that does not listen to his parents, and he eats too much meat and drinks too much wine, and something like that, let's put it that way, and he can be put to death. However, this was never actually carried out in reality. There never was such a child that was put to death by the Sanhedrin who found him guilty of this crime, right, of this transgression of being a rebellious and wayward child. The thing is, First of all, the halachas of the ben sorer umoreh, the halachas of the wayward, rebellious child, are so intricate and so complex that it can't actually come into being in reality. And they made it like that, because killing children is not something desired or welcomed. Incidentally, whenever I mention the Sanhedrin putting people to death, I also always mention the fact or tradition in the Talmud, right? In the Mishnah, it says that a Sanhedrin that would put a person to death once every 7 years, or some say 70 years, would be considered lethal and not a welcomed thing. So even though the Torah is filled with, this person is put to death and that put to death, this one, that trend's going to kill them all. No, people were not put to death, not nearly as much as you would think. The Sanhedrin would do everything in their power and in their authority to not kill people and not find them guilty of punishable by death, right, of offenses punishable by death, and they would barely ever actually execute people. So back to the question. No, killing children is not kosher. One child is allowed to be killed. That is the wayward, rebellious child, ben sorer umoreh, and that has never been carried out, they say, in reality. Okay, let's continue. What's inaccurate? Sarah says, what? Wait, what's inaccurate? Are you talking to me or someone else? Time's up for you desert rat pedophiles, says Ulfen Dinar. Okay, yeah, hopefully the time is up. The time has come, right? The time has come to stop being desert rat pedophiles and to truly come into our own and be who we are meant to be. So, yeah. What the fuck? Who even are you? Says Eliyahu Amedi. Why, I'm Yonatan, and who are you, Eliyahu Amedi? Who are you indeed? Baby says, why is Messiah ben Yosef or ben Joseph said to be a Ger Tzedek? What does that mean? A Ger Tzedek means a convert. But if they are, I don't know that look, these days, if you convert, you're immediately part of the kingdom of Judah and the tribe of Judah. Jews, right? However, I wonder if at the time you could convert to a certain tribe. That's a very good question, and I don't know the answer to that. However, I will say that a Ger Tzedek means a convert, a righteous convert, somebody who converted to Judaism. Two types of Gerim. Ger Tzedek, a convert to Judaism, and Ger Toshav, a resident who leaves his or her pagan ways, stops worshipping pagan gods, accepts the rule of the land and the Hebrew God, but is not a Hebrew man or woman. So there. Epic Baller says, have you ever tried psychedelics? Yes, I have. Or any mind-altering substances? Yes, I have. Do you have curiosity about them? Yes, I do. Eliyahu Amedi, you sound Israeli. Do you vote for the Likud party? No, Nico Ricci, I have not voted in about 20 years, ever since the expulsion from Gush Katif, the disengagement from Gaza. I haven't voted. I think I will vote in the next election after this war because something needs to change in this country. So even I am going to go vote after 20 years. I have no idea who I'll vote for. I don't know the platforms. I don't know the people. Lord knows what the hell is going to go. I have no idea. No idea what's going to happen. But I plan on voting I plan on voting in the next election. But the last time I voted was about 20 or 20 odd years ago. Helen Keller says, what about all the years of child sacrifice in the Jewish tribes during the Old Testament that God sent down judgment? Was that because it wasn't kosher? Yes, the Torah says that we are not allowed to make any human sacrifices. We are allowed to make animal sacrifices, vegetable sacrifices, right? Vegetarian offerings of grain, right? And of wine and of oil and of water, but not men, women, children. That is not something that we are allowed to do. Now, there are those who say that these things did go down, and that's why, for instance, in Gei Ben Hinam, right, the Tofet there, the point I'm trying to make is that it's not kosher to sacrifice human beings according to the Torah. You could probably marry into tribes back then and still. So, Matthew, good to see you again, if that is the same Matthew. But, yes, you couldn't marry into a specific tribe if you married a specific tribal person, right, from a specific tribe. So, yes, that is true. Yes, that would make you a ger tzedek. Right, good call. Very good call. Gas Pump says the Talmud is a primary source of Jewish law, serving as the foundation text of Rabbinic Judaism, correct, and the main record of the oral Torah, correct, compiled between the 3rd and the 6th century. Yes, it was compiled between the 3rd and 6th centuries, but it harkens back hundreds of years to discussions going on in the Mishnah, and it's actually an interpretation and discussion on the Mishnaic rulings or on the Mishnaic debates. Each Gemara starts with matnitin. Each part of the Gemara pertains to a specific Mishnah. That's how that works. Hey, Binary Ghost is here again, I believe. Don't know the people? Don't know the platforms? You're ready to vote. Yes, well done. Yes, I will actually do my due diligence, and I will see who I'm voting for and why. I really would like to vote this time because something needs to change in this country. Something needs to change like in an awful, awful, awful way. We need to de-radicalize both sides, I say, Israel and the Gazans. And the West Bank people too, as far as I'm concerned. To free us of radical extremism. How do rabbis determine the intent behind the written word, says Gerald? Well, let's put it this way. There are certain attributes by which the Torah, right, and halacha is derived. It's called 13 midot shehatorah nidreshet bahen. Now, not everybody goes according to those specific 13, but the idea is that you have a specific amount or number, right, of attributes and ways in which you can interpret the Torah for the purposes of rabbinic law, of halacha. It's not willy-nilly. So that's how. So how do they determine it? It depends first of all on that sage or rabbi's tradition. Second of all, when it comes to practical, actual de facto halacha, it depends on whether or not the people can actually follow it, because that's the idea, that they will be able to follow it. What is Israel's #1 export? That's a good question, Baroque Blues. I don't know. I know we're big on cannabis, but I don't think it's the #1. Is it cherry tomatoes? Is it olives? I don't know. Interesting. I'm going to Google that. What is Israel's #1 export? Let's see what Google says. Cut and polished diamonds. Right. I should have remembered that, because should have. I'm sure I learned this at some point, but yes, diamonds. Interesting. Epic Baller continues, what's the most important difference between Christianity and Judaism, and what do you think Christianity gets wrong? Far be it from me to say what other religions get wrong. I have no idea what other religions get wrong. I know what the Hebrew faith says, by and large. I know what I'm getting wrong and what I need to rectify about myself. And some things I don't even know yet, and they will make themselves apparent and reveal themselves in time. The most important difference is Jesus is not God. That's it. I don't mind if Jesus was alive. I don't mind if he was killed. I don't mind if he was resurrected. I don't mind if he ascended. I don't even mind to say that there was a virgin birth. All of those things have kind of a root in the Hebrew Bible. Kind of. Some of them actually, and some of them kind of, like the virgin birth thing. I always equate that kind of, like I said, with Sarah and Isaac. The point is some unnatural birth, right? That's Jesus is God is where I draw the line, and where many, many other Jews, if not all Jews, not Messianics, of course, but people who are not Messianic Jews, draw the line. Jesus is not God, end of story. There is no God in flesh. So there you go. That's the main difference. That would definitely be the big difference. Bebye says, what would you say to someone who wants to convert in the coming years to Judaism and shift to Israel? I would say, Do your research, because this is a covenant that once you enter into this covenant, there's no going back. And even if you later convert, you are a heretic of sorts. But the Hebrew faith, the Hebrew covenant, is with you all your life until you die. So I would say, take your time. Are you in Israel? Yes, I am. Senan Burke or Bork. Yes, I am. Thanks for your reply, and Jesus loves you. Thanks, gas pumps. What do I mean, kind of? I mean, kind of, Joe Davis, because we have everything there in the Hebrew Bible. People alive happens in the Hebrew Bible. People dying happened in the Hebrew Bible. People being resurrected from the dead happened in the Hebrew Bible. People ascending without dying, though, like Elijah and Hanoch, happened in the Hebrew Bible. Unnatural birth, a postmenopausal woman like Sarah giving birth to Isaac, happened in the Hebrew Bible. That's why I mean. The one thing that did not happen is a man becomes God, God becomes man. The Hebrew faith has no such tradition of a revelation of God in human form, right? I mean actually God, not a revelation like an angelic messenger in human form. That happens all the time. And I don't mean seeing a vision of God in human form. That happens all the time. I don't mean having a prophecy of God as an old man or a child. That happens all the time. What does not happen ever, not once, is God is a man. So that's what I mean by kind of, Joe Davis, and that's why I draw the line there. Let's continue. Binary says, I was circumcised as a matter of course, as many American males are. Am I automatically Jewish? No. You can be a Jew without undergoing the covenant of Abraham, and you can have the covenant that is being circumcised without it being a covenant. Meaning, if you actually make a covenant in your skin, in your flesh, then it's a covenant. If it's just a medical procedure that's done for aesthetic reasons, medical reasons, I don't know what, then that's not a covenant. That's just you missing your foreskin. How does this covenant work? So you don't need, like I said, you can be Jewish without. And very famously, the people back when the Israelites were roaming the desert, Joshua, when they crossed the Jordan, circumcised them all because they were all uncircumcised. So you don't need to be circumcised to be a Jew. You're a Jew as soon as you are born into this world from a Jewish mother, halachically speaking, a Jewish father, biblically speaking, before the time of Ezra the scribe. And if you are born and you are circumcised, then you were simply circumcised, and they took off your foreskin. But if you were circumcised on the 8th day with the proper rituals in place, that is a covenant in your flesh. Now, if you want to be Jewish and you're circumcised, so some people say you don't have to do anything, and some people say you need to just prick your prick for a little bit of blood, and that's it. So that's how that works. But it's not that everybody that's circumcised is Jewish, and it's not that everybody who is Jewish is circumcised. That's not how it goes. Ryan, hi Ryan, good to see you, man. Ryan says, Father El energy, Son Mot matter spirit Asherah electromagnetic, nature biology Yahweh, Adam is Lucifer Baal. There is no fruit without the garden. Let's go through that again, because a lot of slashes there, and I don't really know what he's saying. Father El energy. Well, no. El is a specific divine attribute, a specific divine name that does not correspond with Father. It corresponds with the Son, with the lower masculine presence, not with the higher masculine presence. So I don't know where you're getting that from, but okay. Asherah is traditionally a pagan goddess where the Canaanites had them paired, right? Adonai and Asherah were paired. But we don't believe that there is a pairing. What we do believe is that the divine revelation comes in the form of masculine and feminine, right? Where we have the higher feminine, the lower feminine, the higher masculine, the lower masculine, also known as mother, father, son and daughter, or beloved and bride, and all of those different relationships between the Sfirot. Adam is Lucifer. I disagree. I mean, look, if you say Lucifer as in the light bearer and all that, that's like a Christian way of looking at things. Adam, traditionally, was imbued with a divine spark of some kind, not of the divine, but a divine revelation of a very high sort, from Atzilut, right, from a higher world, higher than the angels, higher than the demons, higher than the animals. Very, very close, right, to where the first divine emanation came into being. But make no mistake, we are not talking about the divine, but only of divine emanation. And the soul of Adam, that breath of life, that nefesh chaya, right, No fruit without the garden. That much is true. We know that there was, again, a higher Eden and a lower Eden. So I'm not. You'll have to be more specific, Ryan. I'm sorry if I'm not addressing it properly, but I don't quite know what you're getting at. Don't quite know what you're getting at. Also, the force of electromagnetism of electromagnetism is only one of four forces in the known universe, right? We have the strong, the weak, gravity, and the electromagnetic force. Right? Strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, electromagnetism, and gravity. Those are the big four, as far as I know, according to the laws of physics. Breath of gay, says Niels. Yes, indeed. Go back to Israel. I am in Israel, Ryan. What do you mean go back? Here I am. I'm in Jerusalem right now, bringing you that Hebrew lore from days of yore. Incidentally, it's been an hour, and I'm having so much fun. And once again, I'll say how much I deeply appreciate your time, your kind attention. I don't take it for granted that you are, taking time out of your day, out of your night, out of your busy life to listen to my rants, rambles, raves, and blah, blah, blahs. And it's so much fun to be here with you, to have this Q&A. As always, it enlivens me. I didn't have such a good mood today. I didn't know if I was going to go live. And my wife says, you know what, man, just go live. It always cheers you up. And it really, really does, because I love engaging with you people. I love it. It enlivens me. It strengthens me. It nourishes me. And it's also something that I love doing so much, because I could be doing anything else right now. So could you. But we're doing this. And it's live, and it's raw, and it's magical. And I love it. And I thank you for being here with me. Senan says, do you agree with the war between Israel and Palestine? What do you mean agree? I think war is a horrible thing. May war and bloodshed be taken away from all creation, even right now as I am saying these words. May we know peace and prosperity. May we be able to overlook or transcend, rather, our differences, build bridges, find common ground toward peace. We are done merely surviving. We wish to be thriving. All of us. May it be so. So I don't agree with the war. What I agree is that Israel is fighting a defensive war against an enemy that wants to annihilate it, eradicate it, slit its throat, literally, and drive it into the sea. Israel is not free of fault. Israel is not free from blame. Israel did a lot of things wrong, but at its core, this is not a war of conquest. It is not an ideological religious war. It's a war of defense on the side of the Israelis. This has been proven many times over. How many wars do people need to start with us before people realize that we are fighting a defensive war? Right? 1948, 1957, 1953, 1967, 1973, 1981, 82. Fuck the IDF, says Digby. Okay, cool. I'm a former soldier in the IDF. I was discharged 5 years ago. You can say fuck the IDF. That's all good. We are here to have a discussion. And I definitely do understand the people who say fuck Israel, fuck the IDF. Okay, cool. You can say that. You can say that. Isn't that wonderful that you have the power of speech and you can criticize the IDF? Binary says, I find it funny how the Muslims and the Christians fought wars over control of Jerusalem, and the Jews got it anyway. Well played, Jews. You know, we may have got it, but we only get it so long as we keep the covenant. We only get it so long as we keep to the Torah and the commandments, or we will be kicked out again. We will be kicked out again on our asses. Back to exile you go, Hebrews. Go learn what your purpose is in the exile, and then make a comeback. GPSSS say, how did the priest enter through the veil of the Holy of Holies? If the veil was thick and big, was he teleported through? No, it wasn't thick. It was big, but it wasn't thick. And did they really tie a rope around his ankle in case he died? So here's the thing. First of all, it's a difference of opinion. Thank you for your donation. Thank you so much. It's a difference of opinion on whether or not it was one parochet, one veil, or two. In the Mishnah, when they speak of the Holiday of Atonement, and it's unclear there whether there was one or two, but at any rate, the high priest once a year, on the Holiday of Atonement, Yom Kippur, Yom Kippurim, he would go into the holiest of holies to light the incense and say a quick prayer, and then he would go back in to take the incense vessel out, to take the sort of, what is it called? Anyway, the receptacle. And he would take it out. So it was thick, and you can even say it was big, but he went through it by walking through it. Okay, and this is where the difference of opinion on whether or not it was one or two comes into play. Because in the Mishnah of Masechet Yoma, in the Mishnah, they actually talk of the route that he would take. Right? He would come in from this side and turn to here and walk here, and then turn here and walk here, and then turn there and walk there, in between the two, and then he would be faced with the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, and then he would put it down. He would light the fire. He would pour the incense on the fire, and the house would be filled with smoke. So he got through it, because this is the high priest. He wasn't high for no reason. Second of all, he could have, if it's two, he could have gone, right? They say that it was open on one side. And if you say that there are two of them, it was open on one side and the other one was open on the other side, right? So he would make like a kind of, right? He like going through it. You can look in the Mishnah. I'm not doing it justice right now, and I'm not going to quote the Mishnah verbatim. But look at the Mishnah Yoma. That's the name of it. Yoma. Mishnah Yoma, and find out what he would do, right? And the route that he would take on the way to the Ark of the Covenant in the holiest of holies on the holiday of Atonement. But that's how he would do it. He would either go through one, right, through it, or there were two, and they would have different openings on different sides, and he would go through it. Let's see. God's not real. This is true. God is not real. So this is seriously stupid fucking retards fighting over a desert. I agree it's retarded to fight over a desert. That much is true. As for God not being real, I also agree, because when you deal with things that are real and not real, in existence and not in existence, you already are putting a label on something and saying it exists or it doesn't. It's real or it's not. It's this or it's that. And as long as you are doing that, it's immediately not God. Because God is something unfathomable, unknowable, unthinkable, untouchable, beyond all comprehension, meaning that if I can say about something it does not exist, then it's already not God. But it's a revelation of God. So the thing that you perceive as God does not exist. I get that. I'm on board with you 100%. God is not real. I hear you. And it's true. God is not real. It's something beyond the real, if you will. So that's why God is not real. And as for it being seriously stupid, yes, it's true that I am seriously stupid, like on a personal level, but I try to be a little less stupid every day. Sometimes I fail and it's every 2 or 3 days. Oh hell, sometimes it might be even a week, though I doubt it, because I do try to learn some Torah every day. I do pray, and I talk to God every single day, like I'm talking to you right now, right? Spontaneous dialogue. And so that makes me a little less dumb. Now, if I've been doing this for such a long time and I'm this stupid, you can only imagine how dumb I was to begin with. Huh? Okay. Ooh, another super chat came in. Sorry, or was it something else? No, it was another one. Anti-Zionism Haredim, what do you think? Eiler says. I think that, A, they have a point. But there's a difference between being an anti-Zionist Haredi and between actually going and being in cahoots with enemies like Iran that want to wipe us off the map. You see? That's where I draw the line. It's like, if you say that the state of Israel is illegitimate in the eyes of God, and you have the sources to back it up, I'm totally with you 100%. I see where you're coming from. I don't agree with you, but I see it. Right? As for being Haredim, again, I don't go with their way of life, and I'm making a huge, broad generalization because there are so many different types of Haredim. But the anti-Zionist Haredim, I'll say, okay, I see where you're coming from, and I respect that. What I don't respect is you colluding with the enemy, an enemy that wants to wipe all of Israel off the map. And that includes people who are religious and not religious, people who are Zionist and not Zionist. So to collude with the enemy and to go to conferences where they say that we want to wipe out Israel and take it off the map, that's where I say, no, that is not a good thing. Maybe don't do that. But I definitely understand when they say that they are anti-Zionist, where they're coming from. I do. I understand. I don't like it, but I understand. Binary says, what do you think of the claims that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia? So yes, people say it's in Egypt. People say it's in Ethiopia. Some people say it's in, where else? A few different locations. I think Ethiopia also claims to have the oldest Christian Bible, Orthodox. Yes, now there is a church, an Ethiopian Orthodox church in, I don't know if it's in Addis Ababa or around there, in Ethiopia. And they have people who guard the temple there who are guardians of the Ark of the Covenant. and they routinely go blind. I mean, someone goes blind, and then they are replaced, and then they go blind. There's this thing. Look it up. I saw an interview with one of those Ark guards, and he said, yeah, people go blind. Now, there's a very rich tradition of the Ark consuming people of the tribe of Levi, the priests and the Levites, because they were not careful enough around the Ark, and the Ark would literally kill them dead. And if you saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, now okay, so what do I think of the claims? I think the Ark could very well be in Ethiopia, or in Jerusalem, or in Egypt, or anywhere in the world, or in some dude's house in Idaho. I don't know. I really don't know where it is. What do I think of those claims? They may have some truth. I have no idea. I really don't. I really don't. We haven't had an Ark of the Covenant since the first temple was destroyed. The second temple did not have an Ark. Incidentally, on Yom Kippurim, instead of putting the incense receptacle, I gotta find a better name. There's got to be a better name, right? I mean, I know it in Hebrew. I don't know it in English. Anyway, he would put this shovel-like thing on the Ark of the Covenant. Or was it actually on the Ark? Yes, I think it was actually on the Ark. He carried it in with some sort of a shovel-like thing, a scooper, like a scooper type thing, but he actually put it on the Ark. I think that's what that was. You know? Yes, I think that's what it was, but I'm not exactly sure right now 100% if he put the scooper on the Ark or if he actually put the incense on the Ark. No, I think that he put the scooper with the fire on the Ark, and then poured the incense into the scooper that lit it aflame, and the house was filled with smoke. I think that's how it went down. But incidentally, at the time of the Second Temple, when they would carry out this ritual of going into the holiest of holies, what they had is a stone called the foundation stone, Even Hashtiyah, and this would be a stone that was raised above the ground, right? A few, I don't know, like a foot or so. And they say that this is the place which was like the foundation of the world. Something like that. You know, maybe not physically, maybe metaphorically. But it was called the foundation stone. And on that he would put the scooper and light the incense. The Ark are on top of Speranza, says Cletus. Cletus, the slack-jawed yokel. I don't know what that means, dude. What does that mean, Speranza? I don't know what Speranza means. Oh, there was another... JPSSA says, what are some good books that you have read in general, and maybe some good books by rabbis and on Judaism? Well, are we talking about like religious spiritual books? I'm a fan of the Tao Te Ching. I'm a fan of certain Hindu Vedas, because I haven't read them all. I'm a fan of, the Torah. I'm a fan of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero's Pardes Rimonim. I am a very big fan of Rabbi Nachman's writings. He didn't write them. It was his disciple, Rabbi Natan, that wrote them, but it was his teachings. So, but if you're talking about just, for leisure reading, I mean, I enjoy Harry Potter. I enjoy Lord of the Rings. I enjoy Stephen King's earlier work. And I like to go with the classics that I consider classics. Ryan says, oh, first of all, wait. Arbelix. Thank you so much for the pound. Bless you. It all goes to charity, people. I haven't been paid yet by YouTube. It's only been monetized like a couple of weeks. But as soon as I get that first payment, I will be making it as transparent as possible, showing you the analytics, showing you the check or the transfer, whatever it is, and I will be in touch with you on what charity to give to the first month. Do we alternate between them? How is it going to work? I will be doing this along with you. You are the ones who are giving this money. It is deeply appreciated, and I'm sure whatever charity will end up getting this first payment of over 1,000 shekels so far will want to thank you as well. Yahweh equals universe. Gods equals rebellious organs. Us equals cells. Okay, so what you're talking about is the spiritual organism, if you will. Now the thing is this. The thing is that God brought creation into being through a revelation of speech, the Torah says. God is telling himself a story. This is the story of creation. And the universe, the physical universe that we inhabit, or within the multiverse of multiverses, it all comes down to the 10 Sfirot. It all comes down to the tree of life. That is how God is manifested and revealed in the world. The 10 emanations known as the 10 sfirot. And it exists from the macroest macro to the microest micro. So when you say that gods are rebellious organs and we are cells, I suppose... Now, does the universe correspond then to a full-fledged organism? And then gods are rebellious organs and we are all cells? How do you see it, Ryan? I'm curious. I am very curious. I like the analogy, but Yahweh being the universe, so the universe is like a full-fledged organism, right? Is that it? You look like my right ball, says Charlie. Well, your right ball. Okay. Why don't I look like your left ball? Is one of them wrinklier than the other? Does one of them sag? Is there one that holds more semen than the other? Did you have one, God forbid, taken off in some medical procedure if it was necessary, or some sort of a freakish accident? Tell me more about your balls, man. Charlie, look. You can't just say something so significant about your right ball and assume I'm going to just let it slide. No, I want to hear more about your balls, plural. I want to know what happened to your left ball and why I look like the right ball. Okay. JPSSA says, why do you call the Sabbath a queen and a divine feminine revelation? And what is a masculine revelation? Can you explain the difference? So there are 10 sfirot, right? The tree of life is 10 emanations. We have the middle pillar, we have the left pillar, and we have the right pillar. The Sabbath corresponds with the sfirah, the final one, called Malchut. Malchut means kingdom. Okay, so we have a root called crown, and we have a final sfirah called kingdom, right? Kingdom, crown, keter, malchut. You see how it corresponds one to the other. You also have the idea of 10 sfirot's malchut being another one's crown, right? The beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. The sfirot rotate. It's a whole thing. So I call Shabbat a queen because Shabbat represents the lower feminine, called Malchut, that is elevated. Right? Meaning that in the beginning she's just a bride, but then she becomes a queen. Shabbat is called a queen because, in a way, she is still not where she is meant to be. She is right now a bride, but she will be a queen. And I call her a queen because that is what she represents, that higher, majestic, royal, divine, feminine influence, the Shekhinah, as it's known. Shekhinah corresponds with Malchut, corresponds with the moon. The Sabbath is 7. 7 represents this world, right? 7 deserts, 7 seas, 7 continents, like traditionally. As for the masculine revelation, if we're taking like the Sabbath, in that sense, the masculine revelation is the lower form that is in union with the Sabbath. But let's put it this way. During the time when the temple was standing, there was a union of the lower male and female presence, or a masculine and feminine presence, continuously through the ritual worship. The idea is that the higher feminine and masculine are always in union. The Abba and Ima, the mother and father, are always together. But the lower, they're together at times, and they drift apart at times. And depending on the actions of the people of Israel, we can bring about that union, or we could cause them to grow apart. On Shabbos, we are reminded of the covenant of Eden. We are reminded of the covenant of Eden in the sense that the first Edenic Sabbath has not yet taken place, right? We are in that place between Friday afternoon in Eden and Shabbos in Eden. We are in that place in between, stretched into the history as we know it, right? Human history. We are on our way to Eden. And what will happen is that we will undergo that Edenic Sabbath, partake of the fruit of the tree of life, and then Malchut will go up and be elevated. Right now it's the 10th Sphira, but it actually is supposed to be above. It's not supposed to be the final one. It's supposed to be above. So the difference traditionally is that masculine represents the right hand, feminine represents the left hand. Masculine is giving, feminine is withholding. Okay? Masculine is certain letters, Feminine is certain letters. Masculine is the 6 days of creation. Feminine is the Shabbos, right? Which brings the great blessing to all creation. That's why I call it the divine feminine revelation. That's why I call Shabbat a queen. That's why I call my woman Shabbat in human form, right? She is the Sabbath in human form. That's what she is. And I tell her that every Shabbos. That's what she is. And she very, very much is. Oh my God. Wait a second, are you a Kabbalah guy? No, I'm not a Kabbalist. I'm a student of the Tree of Life, but I don't consider myself a Kabbalist. If so, neat, I've never seen one of you in the wild. Well, too bad you're not seeing one of them now. Look, I've been studying Kabbalistic teachings ever since I'm 16, but I don't consider myself a Kabbalist. And even after so many years, I still consider myself reading the introductions to introductions of introductions to Kabbalah. That's what I consider it to be. Okay. Let's continue. Arbel says, if Yemen and Khazaria were still Jewish, is that thumbs up? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. Yemen was never fully Jewish. There were people who were exiled to Yemen who were Jewish. There was a very large Yemenite community of Jews. Khazaria was a foreign kingdom that traditionally converted to Judaism. The Khuzarim converted to Judaism, and they were a kingdom of converts. They're all Jewish, but I don't exactly know what you mean if Yemen and Khazaria were still Jewish. I don't think there was ever a time when Yemen was entirely Jewish. I don't even know if the entire kingdom of Khazaria, of Khuzar, was entirely Jewish. I think that the king of Khuzar converted, and with him much of the people, like many of the people. I don't even know if it was all of the people back then. I don't know. Hey, listen, incidentally, binary ghosts. If you are looking for a Kabbalistic Nazarite, there is one on YouTube. I'll reply to you. Hang on a second. Oh, I can't reply? I can't reply. The time had passed. See, I'm so new to this super chat, super thanks, super stickers thing. I don't know what I can do or can't do. Apparently, there's a specific time in which, like a window of time in which I can reply in the super chat. So look up Aleph Alif, okay? Here on YouTube, A-L-E-P-H, Aleph Alif, A-L-I-F. I'll write it down in the chat now. Aleph Alif. Yes, Aleph Alif. He is a Kabbalist and a Nazarite living in New York. That man is a Kabbalist. I am not. I'm a student of the Tree of Life. That's what I've always said, and that's what I'm sticking to. Were the Nephilim fallen angels, says JP, and they did have spaceships like these Sumerian artifacts show. You know, it could very well be, because we are told. Yeah, fractal, says Ryan. Indeed. We are told, right, that there were Nephilim, that there were these sons of God, and some people do consider them aliens, extraterrestrials. Some people consider them fallen angels who received a human form, right, like embodied angels who copulated with human women. And some say that it was a whole other civilization that has come and gone, and we know about them, and there were the remnants. So we sort of think, because to set our mind in such a way where we consider the possibility of previous civilizations and worlds existing and being decimated. Okay, let's continue. Yes, fractal. Yes, I've always likened the 10 Sfirot to a fractal, right? So 10 Sfirot fractaling in and out of themselves. Spread the garden, living universe. Paganism equals feeding organs or planets, Jupiter, Zeus, Baal, Cancerous. Paganism is the same story, civil war. Paganism as civil war. That's curious, because as far as I know, and I don't know much, paganism has to do a lot more with this world and with nature, and maybe it has to do with some facets of astrology and of the way in which a person's unique star chart or a civilization's, a unique region's star chart affects that region. But even so, it more closely is associated with this world and with the laws and forces of nature. Am I wrong? Tell me, because I don't know the difference really between Wicca or between paganism and all of that. But I think it has a lot more to do with this world and the physical world, right? And the laws of nature. Okay, let's continue. Alex, hey Alex. Thank you so much, all of you, for these lovely donations, all going to charity. I don't know which charity yet. When I get paid, you will get paid as well. We will all get paid and give it to charity. I am not Jewish, he says, but I admire the Orthodox Jews for gaming the modern system placed in front of them by God to use their entire time and energy to study, debate, and worship the divine. Am I wrong? Well, I don't know what you mean by gaming the modern system. I really don't know. If it means manipulating systems in the modern time, I think that's hardly the case. I think you can make the case for Jews infiltrating or inserting themselves into places of power and gain, and I don't mean that in the negative sense, right? And influence from way, way back. Now, placed in front of them by God to use their entire time and energy to study, debate, and worship the divine. That is not what Jews are meant to do. Jews are meant, A, to work for a living, B, to have Torah, right, to have their lives revolve around Torah, but to also be, a man among men, a woman among women, and be part of the world. So, as for study, debate, and worship of the divine, yes, that is indeed something that is part and parcel of being an Orthodox Jew. But it's more than that. It's not just study, debate, and worship. It's also being a human being before you're Jewish and being a good person, trying to figure out ways of righteousness in which you can go. That's to walk before God, right? That's to manifest your divine image, the image that you're created in. So I don't know what you mean by gaming the system, but I do know that, yes, things were placed here by God for all of humanity. The Jews have their own thing, other nations have their thing. So, but yes, there is indeed a lot of study, debate, and worship in the Orthodox faith, and it's something that I see as a great asset and a benefit because there's meaning baked right into your life. Now, you could argue over the nature of this meaning. It's man-made, it's divine, these things are outdated, and these things should change, and these things are horrible, and I don't know what, but at least it gives you a path. It gives you a discipline, a yoke, a burden, right, to take on and carry throughout life. And that is worth its weight in precious gems and gold and metals and I don't know what. Wicca says binary is just the hippie version of Aleister Crowley's Thelema. Neither are connected to the pagan traditions of old. Oh, okay. See, I was under the impression that the Wicca, right, or the witchcraft, is not a modern thing. It's simply, there is the New Age Wiccans, but there's also the ancient Wicca. So am I wrong? Is there no ancient witchcraft associated with Wicca, with like the Wiccan way of being? I'm curious. Fractal's story, Yahweh united his parts, alchemy. Yes, this much is true. The 10 Sfirot are indeed united, right? We talk of the 10 Sfirot of being a fragmentation, not of God, but of divine revelation, of divine emanation. That is what fractals in and out. The divine itself has no such shape or form at all. They like to pretend they have ancient roots, but they do not, says Binary. Okay, let me put it this way. I think that the ancient roots, wouldn't some of them still have meaning and a place here within the modern incarnation of Wicca? Neither of them are connected. Okay, I see what you're saying. See, it's amazing how many things I don't know. All the time I'm learning from you people and I love it. Ryan says, too broke, but love to chat sometime. You don't have to, hey, hit me up in the DMs. People, Hebrew Nazarite, across the board, look for my tree. On X, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram. I don't post much, but I'm there in the DMs. And I love to converse with people. I love talking to people, whether it's here or whether it's in the DMs. So if you want to chat and you don't want a super chat, obviously I understand. I'm not asking anybody to donate, so I'll pay attention. The channel has only been monetized a couple of weeks. I've been speaking for years in front of this camera, not getting a shekel, and sometimes going one by one when the chat was only few and far between. So I'm so very happy that all of you people are here, and I deeply appreciate the donations and your time and the efforts. It's really, really awesome. But if you do want to speak to me, And if I, obviously, if I have the time, if you have the time, I love to talk in the DMs. So hit me up in the DMs. Hebrew Nazarite on all those platforms. Take a look at that. Hey man, says Martin, just my opinion. Was the Abraham of covenant broken when the Jews rejected Jesus? Abraham of covenant or covenant of Abraham? I don't know what you mean. I know you don't think he's the Messiah, but if he was, what would be the consequences of what happened? Nothing. Kings rule and kings die. Many kings ruled before Jesus, and if you say Jesus was king, cool. If you say he was anointed, cool. But then he died. That's the way it goes. People die. Kings die. Messiahs die. Anointed ones die, whether they be priests or prophets or kings or laymen. So yeah. Now, as for the covenant of Abraham, you don't need to be a Jew to go with the you don't need to be a Jew, because Abraham gave his blessings to Ishmael and to Isaac, right? So the covenant of Abraham was put in Isaac and in Ishmael, in Jacob and in Esau, because Isaac carried on the traditions of his father, as did Ishmael, by the way. The Muslims are also circumcised differently, in a different time of life, a different sort of ritual, but the same deal. They're circumcised as well. When the Jews rejected Jesus, they rejected his divinity and his rule as God incarnate. I don't think that they rejected him necessarily as king. If he was king, it means that he was crowned. If he was actually king, it means that people embraced his right to rule and his sovereignty. And if he wasn't embraced by the people, but he was still anointed, then he was a king that was not accepted by the people. But it has nothing to do with the covenant of Abraham. The covenant of Abraham is more along the lines of guard your life and the force that is within you, that is manifested, right? Like the sperm that helps bring life into the world. The life force that's within you, that energy, that chi or that ki, right? That kundalini energy, if you will. That's from the brain, the spine coming down to the testicles, that whole thing. The thing, that thing which makes you you in a much bigger way, take care of that. Take care of it. Take care to not denigrate yourself, right? Take care not to debase yourself. Take care of your semen. Every sperm is sacred. Now, I'm not talking right now about nocturnal emissions, masturbation, self-pleasure, but the idea is, right, we have a covenant in our flesh to remind us of the place that life comes from, so to speak. What is it we are meant to do with our life? Right? We are meant to uncover things in life. There are many mysteries and hidden things in life, like there's the foreskin over the penis, and we cut it off. We are meant to uncover the penis, uncover the divine revelation in the world, and manifest it through our lives. So the covenant of Abraham is a physical manifestation of a deeper covenant. It's not just the flesh, and it's not just to do with sperm, semen retention, sacred sex in marriage, or sex being a sacred thing to begin with, and all of this is indeed the case, but it's also about that idea of one God that I'm going with all in, all the way, just like Abraham did. All right. So the consequences of rejecting a Messiah would simply be that he probably would not be crowned. So I'm not sure what to tell you, but if the people reject him, then he was not crowned. And if he was crowned by, let's say, a prophet who was around at the time, or somebody who had the authority, but the people didn't accept him, he was a king without a people. That's, like Saul in the beginning was crowned or anointed, but he didn't receive the crown until later. Okay. JP says, if God tabernacles in the flesh of ram skins and beaver skins in the Torah, and Israel would follow him around, would it be possible for him to tabernacle in the skin he made his image in as God in flesh? No, those are all revelations. The tabernacle and the temple all signify divine emanations coming into the world. Just like I said, the temple is where the unity of the lower masculine and the lower feminine, that's where they can be like the higher mother and father, always in unity. And when we are without a temple and in exile, there is no unity unless there is something like the Sabbath, something like festivals, something like holidays, where that it really, really, really has to do with Malchut, all of those, the 3 festivals and so on. Not the Holiday of Atonement, that has to do with the higher feminine, but if you're saying that the tabernacle, had flesh, it had stones, it had garments, it had incense, it had different sacrifices, right? And blood and grain and wine and water, all of those things, each and every one of them, right? The golden altar and the copper altar and the golden lamp of 7 candles, right? And the bread and the table and the table with the bread and the sink that was outside for the priests to wash their hands and feet, all of that. And the borders of the tabernacle, right? The way that it was taken apart, the way that it was put up, all of this signifies the relationship between the different sfirot, the relationship between divine emanations that come into the world. We look at this ritual worship and we mirror it, A, by partaking, right? But B, we mirror it inside and out with our actions. The 10 sfirot are the anatomy of creation, and we are part of creation. And when we are looking at the way that the temple worship was carried out, we then divine, so to speak, and we get the idea of how to behave and what to do. When a person brings a sacrifice, like a lamb or a goat, and they slaughter it, God doesn't need the sacrifice. God doesn't need the blood. God doesn't need or desire anything. It is us. It is us who need to think, oh my God, that could have been me right now. I better get my act together while I still draw breath. Memento mori. Or even if it's not, even if it's a vegetarian offering. I came from the earth. Adam was created from this land. I have the 4 elements in me. I should do something about that and be a better person. It's all guiding you to be more righteous. At least that's how I see it, and that's how it's usually understood. Because God does not require anything. Hello again, says General Syke. Hello again, I asked about the 12 tribes a while ago and I've been enjoying your talk since, but if I may ask 2 things. What do you do for work? And what are your opinion of tattoos? I am a writer. I am currently, I have a career as a writer. I studied screenwriting and film, television, and screenwriting, and I am a copywriter by day. That's what I do for a living. I've been doing copywriting, content writing, blogging, and such things for over a decade. My opinion of tattoos are that they are lovely, but not allowed according to Torah, which means that I won't be getting one, but I understand those who do. That's my opinion on tattoos. I think that they are lovely, but but they are prohibited by the Torah. General says, is there a concept of an antichrist in Judaism? No, there is the concept of a wicked king who will put to death the Messiah, son of Joseph, named Armilus. However, no, there is no specific, right? Christ means anointed one. There is no one specific element that fights against anointed ones. Because there are anointed priests, there are anointed kings, there are anointed prophets, and there are just laymen who are anointed, not for a specific task, but just as a way of being. Just like Ecclesiastes, King Solomon says, he says your clothing should be white, and you should not lack any oil on your head. Also, no, let's leave it at that. So there's no concept of an antichrist. There is the concept of an adversary. Hebrew, right? An adversary, the word adversary in Hebrew is Satan or Satan. That's what it means, adversary. So there is the adversarial element that permeates creation, that permeates your very being, but it's there for a reason. It's there, A, to give you freedom of will and choice, and B, it's there to elevate you and cause you to dig deeper and find greater strength within yourself, to elevate yourself and elevate the world around you in the process. The more you elevate yourself materially and spiritually, the more you become elevated with the entire world, the more the world is elevated right along with you. Right, brothers, what we do in life echoes for eternity, right? That's from Gladiator. It's true. Jupiter, hey Jupiter, how you doing? Thank you so much for the kind donation. It is exceedingly appreciated. All going to charity, as I said. I still don't know what charity. When I get paid, you will know first. Are you Mossad? No, Vicend. Mossad is international espionage, and I am local. But I'm not the Shin Bet, and I'm not police. I'm just a regular, simple layman dumbass in the Middle East with a phone. That's all I am. You ever change your mind, says Having Motion? Change my mind about what? Kiznish says, Kiznish? Nice name. Why do Jews pretend to be allies to Christians when they believe Jesus is boiling in excrement in hell? So first of all, I don't believe Jesus is boiling personally in excrement in hell. I believe Jesus was a righteous man, and he died like any other man. That's it. He's just a dead guy. That's it. No more, no less. I don't think he's writhing in boiling excrement. As for Jews pretending to be allies, I think that Jews can be allies to Christians. They can be an ally to Christians, but still negate the Christian God. Because before all the deities, we are human beings. So you can treat someone with respect, you can treat someone with kindness, you can treat someone with compassion and with justice, mercy, and grace, and still believe that that person believes in a God that you don't believe in. Otherwise, it's just a pissing contest. My God is bigger than your God. My God's penis is bigger than your God's penis. And that's why live life like that? Really, why? What will that ever really accomplish? I don't know. People do it all the time. But you can be a good person and ally yourself with others materialistically, maybe even spiritually, without having the pissing contest. That's what I think. Tale says no one ever has resurrected from the dead. Well, in the Old Testament, you have Elisha and Elijah who brought people back from the dead, and you have Elijah and Hanoch who ascended, who did not die traditionally. So you have all of that already in the Hebrew Bible. Now, I'm not sure what you mean, but okay. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so. Binary says, interesting take on sacrifice. I've seen it as symbolically you are giving up something of comfort, abundance, for a work towards a greater goal, reward. Yes, indeed. That a sacrifice, be it animal sacrifice or vegetarian sacrifice, is multifaceted. It's multi-layered. First of all, we know you have a sacrifice of atonement. You have a sacrifice of thanksgiving. You have sacrifices of the individual. You have sacrifices of the collective, like on festivals or the Sabbath or the daily 2 goats, right, in morning and noonish. Towards the evening, you have many different sacrifices, each of them pertaining to a different type of divine revelation, right? You have a guilt offering, you have a sin offering. These things are not by chance. Each of them pertains to a specific divine revelation that when you bring this sacrifice in this specific way, the priest pondering these specific names, breathing in this specific way, moving the knife, or pouring the grains, or the water, or the wine, or the blood, right, using the receptacle on the altar. Is it on the top half of the copper altar? Is it in the middle? Is it below? All of this signifies ways in which the masculine and feminine divine presence find their unity. That's what it's there for. All of these rituals are there to bring about kudsha brichu ushchinte, as they say in Aramaic. Also, it is there to show you something. When there is unity in the divine masculine and feminine presence, there can be unity also within you. Likewise, when you do something and you unify that masculine and feminine within you, you can go then and bring an offering of thanksgiving. No transgression, no festival. Something happens. There's a kind of epiphany. You understand something, like a great understanding, or you go through a significant experience and you say, you know what? I make a vow to bring to the temple this and that as an offer of thanksgiving. People were moved to do such things because of their own life, things that they had undergone. So, sacrifice is multifaceted, yes, that is true. And you can choose how you want to look at it, right? Depends on what through the lens through which you see it, right? That's what you will get from it. Okay, let's continue. Fruit says, why would it be sin for God to turn stone into bread? I have no idea what that means. Well, first of all, I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me in creation. So I don't know if anything would be a sin for God to turn stone into bread. I don't know what that means. When did God turn stone into bread? And is it indeed a sin or not a sin? People, do you know what he's talking about? I'm sorry, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Is the USA Edom, says Jupiter. So traditionally, Esau was named Edom. Edom traditionally, over the course of history, became Rome, right? And the Roman Empire. The United States, traditionally, is part of that ancient Roman culture, right? Western culture, right? Rome, Athens, Jerusalem, right? That whole thing. So people associate modern day Christianity, not necessarily the USA, but Christianity, they associate it with Edom. Now, you can make the argument that most Christians are not even connected biologically, genetically, ethnically, geographically to the land of Edom. The land of Edom was where Jordan is, in that area. The people in the US are in the continent of America. So what does it have to do with it, right? So you can make the argument that it has nothing to do with it. You can make the conceptual or spiritual argument, if you will, that Edom represents Christianity or the modern day Western world, and the US, right, represents the New World. So it's not only the USA that is Edom, according to the people who do think that. It's Christianity kind of at large, the US being the New World within Christianity, as opposed to the old European world. But before the US was around, I believe that people considered Europe to be Edom. But maybe people associate it now more with the US. I have no idea. I don't think that it's this or that. I think that if people say that Esau, Edom, became Rome, that's one thing, but the Roman Empire fell. And even though now, right, life of Brian, what have the Romans done for us? We now have look, Rome gave the world a lot of great things, right? And some things that were not good necessarily. Every empire had its good things and bad things. So let's continue. The klipa to be cast aside during Gog and Magog. So no. I think you misunderstand. Or no, it's not that you misunderstand. Far be it from me to say you misunderstand. The klipa is not something that necessarily needs to be taken out. All of these things that have to do with the klipa of Ishmael, the klipa of Edom, they don't need to remain klipa. They don't need to remain a husk. They don't need to remain the peel that covers the fruit. Everything can be elevated. Everything. And it all starts and ends with us. Now, while it is true that you are not meant to venture into the dark side of the force in order to elevate it, A, there are those who do that. B, it means that you do your own thing. By virtue of you manifesting your own individual image of God in which you were created, that you can manifest that gift that you can give to the world, that it behooves you, right? You have the responsibility and the duty to bring it into creation, that one unique singular thing that nobody else but you can actually do, the thing that your soul, right, manifests. That is not necessarily something that then, if we all do that, the klipa will be elevated of its own accord. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be cast aside in the wars of Gog and Magog. That's not exactly what it means, although there are different prophecies, but prophecies that have to do with war and destruction and the klipa, they do not have to come to pass. The prophecies that have to do with solace and comfort and goodness, those do need to come to pass. That's the traditional Orthodox way of thinking of prophecy. How close are we to the Mashiach in your opinion? I am expecting him literally any second. I don't need him. We don't need a king. We don't need a Messiah. We don't need a temple. We don't need the ritual worship. Like I just said, in the very same way that we don't need to cast the klipa aside and for Gog and Magog to take place, we also don't need a temple, we don't need a king, we don't need Sanhedrin. If they all show up, that would be great, but we don't need them. I always go back to Eden, the Edenic mindset, even though I'm well aware we are not in Eden, but I want the mindset to guide me. And the mindset of Eden is, there were no kings in Eden. There were no prophets in Eden. There was no cultures or tongues or faiths or religions in Eden. There was no Israel and Gentiles in Eden. There were no messiahs in Eden, right? It was just humanity, the divine revelation, and nature. The klipa was external. It was the samech mem, right? The adversary riding, if you will, on the primordial serpent. The primordial adversary riding the primordial serpent. But it was external. It was it was on the same level as us, being able to have the power of speech. The serpent is the only one that is mentioned as speaking in the story of creation. And later we have Bilam and his ass. That's true. Oh, and what an ass. But in the story of creation, it's humans and the serpent. So there is a kind of leveling of some, right, of those two forces. But it was external. Only later did the serpent enter into us, and we were cast into a world of duality, of good and evil, to live this life of good and evil. So how close are we to Mashiach? Any second now. If we hearken to the word of the divine revelation in the Most High Hebrew God, we will be able to bring it about. And the king, there are always potential messiahs at any given moment. Do we merit their revelation? Do we merit crowning them, anointing them, accepting them? Will there be a consensus? Will we actually be able to accept the king as one unified people? That would be pretty good. But we don't need the king. We don't need, anointed ones. So is the USA Edom? People say that the USA Christianity is Edom, and there might be something to that, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, certainly with all the persecution and stuff, you can see why Christianity would be considered a klipothic sort of thing. JP says, was Melchizedek some type of angel or god in the Torah? No, Melchizedek, they say, was a ruler. Now, right, a king, right? Melech Shalem, the first king of Jerusalem, they say, was Melchizedek. But there is, what is it? What is it? Hang on a second. Okay, you know what? Let's put it this way. In the Torah, he is simply a king, Melchizedek Melech Shalem, Melchizedek, king of Shalem, right? Now, there is the Kabbalistic opinion, Vehu Chohen Le'el Elyon, right? Okay, so we have a few things there. First, his name is Melchizedek Melech Shalem, the king of Shalem, and it says, Vehu Chohen Le'el Elyon, he is a priest to El Elyon. That's the first time that El Elyon, as a name of God, a manifestation of God, comes into the picture. Now, it's said that Melchizedek is very ancient. It's also said that Melchizedek is one of the lineages that are still currently in existence. But, as for the actual practical written Torah, he is not a messenger or an angel of any kind or a deity. He is a priest, like a high priest to El Elyon, and he's a king. That's what he is in the Torah. That's like just the pshat, like the Torah, right? Like just like the regular verses, like the plain verses. Okay, let's continue. Prophet Muhammad proof God exists, says Parida. Parida? All right, good for you. Go with your prophet then. That's all well and good. The rice experiments helps you say, think instead of just believing. Oh, sorry, the chat just jumped. I don't know what was said. What did he say? Here. Think instead of just believing what people tell you to believe, LOL. Oh, trust me, I am capable of critical thinking, and that's partly why I don't consider myself religious anymore. It's also why I took a step back from keeping strict rabbinic law, which I did for years. So yeah, what kind of Jew is this, says Domenico. I'm a regular Hebrew Nazarite, no more, no less. I'm just a simple layman Jew. Rasta Jew, says Wasif. Indeed, but I don't worship Rastafari, so I'm not really a Rasta. What is your opinion about Persia, says Lilia or Ilya? My opinion is that they were, first of all, Cyrus, king of Persia, is the one who gave the Babylonian exile, after he vanquished Babylon, permission to go and reestablish the kingdom of Judah and build the temple. Cyrus, even though he was not actually a Hebrew man, is called Anointed One. He is called Messiah. Koresh, Cyrus the Great, is called Messiah in the prophets. So Persia, I have great respect for Persia. As for modern day Persia, wait, something happened? A glitch? Okay. As for modern day Persia, Iran, I have great respect for the people. The regime wants to kill me, but the people themselves, I think, would not have a problem with the Hebrews or with Israel. So I think it is a mighty empire or former empire. If I'm not mistaken, they brought chess into the world, right? That's why chess is called shachmat, Shah, the captured Shah, the captured king, captured leader. In Hebrew, chess is called shachmat, checkmate, literally means Shah captured, checkmate. So Persia has a great, long, and illustrious history. And of course, we know that we have a history to do with the scroll of Esther, right, and Mordecai back in the times of Xerxes, or it may have been Xerxes. So what do I think about Persia? I think it's a great nation and a wonderful people. And again, Cyrus the Great did us a great favor, called up an anointed one. But nowadays, with Iran, the people might be great, but there might be a problem with the regime. Genuine question, says Ronan. What do the Jews think of the Buddha Siddhartha Gautama? So, His Royal Majesty Siddhartha Gautama Buddha. I personally love his teachings. I'm not a Buddhist. And I know that Buddhism is considered to be idolatry because people bow down to the statue of Buddha. They give him, they make all kinds of offerings. They light the incense. They do the whole thing. And there's a kind of ritual worship of the Buddha. They don't say he's a god, but they worship him as a man. And that's a problem as far as the Torah is concerned. But there are many Buddhist understandings and teachings that I definitely love. And the actual story of the Buddha and how he became the Buddha and what happened there is a wonderful story. There's so much wisdom there, as there is in the sense that he achieved enlightenment. He was in nirvana, so to speak, but he came down. He didn't stay on top of the mountain. He came down to the people. And that's a wonderful thing. Because there are two types of righteous people, basically. The guru on the mountain and the guru in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're on the mountain, fair enough. But if you're among the people, that could be even greater potentially. Potentially. I have found myself comforted by Buddhist ideology, says Shimi or Shaimi. Yes, there are certain teachings that can bring great comfort because it deals a lot with escaping the world of illusion, right? Samsara, that's what it's called. Or maybe I'm thinking of Tibetan Buddhism. Either way. It's the idea that we are living in a world of illusion and we need to heighten ourselves and elevate ourselves in the very same way, right? We live in a world of good and evil that we were cast into, but we are seeking Eden, right? We're seeking to go backward to Eden and to complete our mission there. And to have an Edenic mindset is to try and bring pieces and parts and fragments of Eden into our everyday life. And that's part of why I love A, the Nazarite vow, B, veganism, which I practice, which I think is inherently Edenic, and that idea of not being so quick to put labels on things and to just let things be and to take things on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes you can't afford to, that's true. But I've found that it's so much to the benefit of the individual if you don't necessarily come with a preconceived, prepackaged, absolute notion of what's going on. Because the world in many cases is an illusion, right? I mentioned this a lot. The line in The Matrix where Morpheus tells him it is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you of the truth. So for the Buddhists, there's the teaching of Prince Siddhartha Gautama Buddha. And for us, there's the Torah and the commandments. And for others, there's the other books and the other teachings and lore of their faith. And it's all reaching that place of being able to elevate yourself, extricate yourself from the illusion of this world. And know that you are more, right? And you can do more, and you are more than what meets the eye. JP says, where does it say in the Bible that Amalek lineage is still alive? It doesn't say that it's still alive. In the Bible, we have Amalek the person, later on spawning a nation that waged war with Israel and the Rephidim on their way to Sinai. Later on, we have Saul and Samuel, and he told him to wage war on Amalek, and they captured Agag, the king of Amalek, but Saul showed him mercy. Samuel is the one who slit his throat, or some say he cut him into pieces. Point is, he killed his ass. However, later on in the book of Esther, the scroll of Esther, we see Haman the wicked from the lineage of Agag, which is the very king from the story of Samuel and Amalek. As for them still being alive, it could very well be, but now we don't know because all of the nations are mixed up with each other. And with the Hebrew faith, with the Hebrew tribes, 10 tribes are lost, and we here are the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, which are Judah, Benjamin, and parts of Levi. So it's like everything is mixed up. From when King Saul was supposed to wipe them out. Yes, okay, they rise up again. So it's written, okay, so from the time of Saul, we know that Amalek traditionally lived as a people because we have Haman during the time of Esther and Mordecai in the scroll of Esther. But then, if I'm not mistaken, there are no more mentions of actually someone being of the lineage of Amalek. So that's where it ends, I think, traditionally. Binary says, suffering sucks, so maybe we should help each other out. Buddha, this man's a genius. A bunch of people who apparently never thought about that before. Yeah, suffering sucks, so let's suffer less by getting ourselves out of it. But I think, look, I don't know if people said that Buddha was a genius just because he said that one thing. But apparently, the way that he spoke to the people was a great revelation to many of those people. Are you Mizrahi heritage? You're beautiful. No, Badawaya. I am not Mizrahi. אתה אומר שטויות, אתה ליצן או טיפש, says Mustafa Greenberg. Okay? So that means you're talking nonsense, you're a clown or a fool. So, joke's on you. I'm speaking nonsense, and I'm a clown, and I'm a fool. So I'm all of it mixed up. As for being beautiful, thank you, I appreciate that. It's, I have my moments, but I think we all have our chances of being beautiful in one way or another. So no, I'm not of a Mizrahi heritage. I mean, look, I'm Judean, but the later heritage is Ashkenaz. All right, let's continue. You know what? Or maybe I should stop. It's just 2 hours, and I think I hear the baby. You know what? I think I hear the baby. So I'm going to, should I say goodbye? A couple, you know what? Maybe he'll fall. I'll lower my voice. He might fall asleep. But if he starts crying again, I'll stop and I'll make him a bottle. Why you have dreads? Easton asks. Because I'm a Nazarite, and the Nazarite man or woman do not comb or brush their hair. My name, it's Bedouin, but for a female. Oh, Badawiya, I see. So are you indeed nomadic? That's curious. Oh no, not the baby. What is the definition of the word goyim? Dustin, the word goyim means nations. Israel is a goy. Nations, plural, are goyim. Goyim means nations. That's it. How can you take the Nazarite vow without the temple system? Why did you doubt? Because if you can take the Nazarite vow with or without a temple. The thing is that if you take it for a set period of time and you have not a temple to bring your offerings to, you remain under the vow until the temple is built and you can bring your offerings, or until at the very least there is a standing altar, even if no temple, and you can bring your offerings. But I am a Samson Nazarite, which is a Nazarite-ship for life, and you don't break the vow, you cannot annul the vow. And so you can be a Nazarite, for life, or a Samson Nazarite. You can be either one of those, or you can be a Nazarite for a set period of time, and when the temple is built, you bring your offerings. But halachically speaking, you can be a Nazarite at any given time. The only real difference of opinion in halacha is on whether or not you can take the Nazarite vow abroad. But I took it in Israel, so it's all good. How come knishes are not mentioned in the Tanakh? You know what? That's a very good question. I have no idea. They should be. You again, says Web Matrix. That's right, it's me. I love it that I keep popping up in people's feeds. I love it. I love it. Are sports a sin? No, sports are a great thing, Ellie. I mean, moving your body, right? In the Torah, you need to be of body and mind. Strengthening your body and strengthening your mind is indeed something of a divine revelation, right? You are revealed through your image of God, right? The image of God in which you were created is manifested in your unique spirit or soul or life force and your body. So to strengthen your body and to exercise is a great mitzvah. It's a great commandment. Indeed. Do any Jewish sects believe in an afterlife, heaven, hell? So not in the Christian sense. First of all, what do you mean by afterlife? Do you mean something beyond this physical life? Yes, all Jews pretty much believe there is such a thing. But afterlife is what happens when we partake of the fruit of the tree of life, which we have not done yet. So what we have now is after your time in this world, you generally go to something called Eden or Lower Eden, which is a waiting room. And we will all arrive at Eden together, the higher Eden, if you will, to partake of the fruit of the tree of life. That's what resurrection means in the Hebrew faith. Resurrection is when death is taken away from creation, just like it came in the account of Genesis, in the story of creation. Death came into the world through the actions of humanity, and it will be taken out of the world through the actions of humanity. So Jewish sects, by and large, believe that there is, after you die, there is something. They may differ on what that is. As for heaven and hell, heaven is the lower Eden. It's a waiting room. It's not the end goal. It's an intermediary zone. And as for hell, not the Christian hell, we do have a place that's closer to purgatory, a place of purgation, of cleansing, of refinement, but not for eternity. It's up to 12 months. And I do the quotations because there is no up, down, left, right, and no time and space in these spiritual realms and planes of existence, but they do exist in parallel to us here. So we say that people who are in hell, so to speak, in the Jewish purgatory, in the Hebrew hell, they are therefore up to 12 months. But again, there is no time and space. It's just things we say and physical terms we use in order to understand something about the nature or perceived nature of those places, but it does not really exist in that sense. So yeah. The Midnight Gardener, good to see you again. Thank you so much. Thank you so much indeed. Okay, on that lovely note, I am going to say goodbye. This has been such a blessing. I love this so much. I thank you, each and every one of you, the subs, the likes, the views, the haters, the naysayers, the vitriol, and the embrace. I dig it. I love it. Those watching now, those watching later. I don't take it for granted. You take time out of your day, out of your night, out of your life to come here and be with me. I deeply thank you for spending this time with me this evening. Join me for another live stream, hopefully tomorrow at some point, where the wonders, right? The live stream from Jerusalem, where the wonders never cease. Until we meet again, be blessed. Be a blessing to others. Be the light in other people's lives. Be of sound mind. Be of sound body. Do some good in the world, inshallah. Start with you, right? Start with your own. Do something good for yourself even today. Whether it's day or night, take time. Focus on something that gives you pleasure. Be grateful. Be grateful. Adopt that gratitude attitude. Until we see each other again, good night from Jerusalem. Oh, and if I missed what you said in the chat, and I'm sorry, the chat is going very quickly. Thank God there are so many people in the chat. I answer each and every comment that is addressed to me, so leave a comment on this video or a different video, whichever one you can do, and I will get back to you. Also, DM me if you want. I'm on X, and I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree. Okay, I think I said it all. So apologies to those whose chat didn't come through. Leave me a comment. I will be with you. And until then, God bless. Be well.